Timmy Joe reviews anything.
Computer parts on YouTube.
That's
Woo! Gotta be pumped on that, right, Will? Computer parts! Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Whoa! Almost fell off my chair there. Hi, it's Timmy Joe, making videos about computers on the internet. And today on the docket we have not this i7 950, but this i7 950. Why do I have so many, you ask? Well, every time I come across a good old X58 motherboard, it's usually got one of those in it. And I usually update it to a Xeon with 6 cores. That's not a bad buy at all. And got me thinking, I've been discounting this for so long, I need to actually test it and see how bad it is. We got Firestrike running, 1080 Ti, running on the 950. Holy bottleneck, Batman. Boom! That's right. So, we got her on the test bench. A viewer actually sent me this amazing little X58 piece of nostalgia. It's got all kinds of blue and orange and different colors on the motherboard, but it's got real nice VRM stuff. It's an Asus board. It's a P7 something deluxe, if I remember correctly, and it's a nice board. Got 24 gigs of triple channel memory running on it, and I've been playing some video games on it, comparing it to the modern equivalent, the last quad core, the 7740X, that was in the i7 range. And we're running a gamut of things to see just how bad the disparity is. So I want to preface this by saying I'm primarily an overclocking channel. When you see results, I'm typically pushing the hardware as far as I can go with very good AIO cooler from Gamerstorm. I've got the GPU overclocked, however far the cooler on it will allow for. And when I first started testing this at stock levels, it's not even, I've looked at this before. I think it was an i7 920 on a gateway computer that a buddy of mine he bought locally, and I did a little bit of testing on, and it was garbage. So X58 Core i7s, you definitely want to stay away from stock stuff. If the motherboard doesn't allow you to overclock, it's probably, it's not going to be good. So we got it running, and it's not doing too bad, especially in this mix. Like, it's a 1080 Ti. It should be going, near 60 FPS. It's doing less than half of that, 20 FPS right now, but it ain't too bad. And look at how big, these things are. They're nice, big, fat X58s. So what kind of score are we going to gather here? 16,728. Wow. That's let's keep that in mind there. And what kind of temperatures? Well, I have this overclocked to 4 gigahertz. It's about as far as I could take it on this board, and it's no easy feat to overclock this board, which we'll talk about in a second. Like the more modern generation, it's like increase the voltage, increase the multiplier, away you go. This needed some massaging to get it to 4 gigahertz. Stock clock speeds just above 3. So what is we'll keep 16,728. We'll keep that in mind. And I just want to run a quick Cinebench. Oh wait, that's Steam. Run a quick Cinebench while we're talking too. The stock Cinebench score was at 3 gigahertz about 400. That's like low Core i5 from a generation later performance. So this with quad core with hyperthreading was just barely able to keep up with an i7 20. I just did one 2400. Like, so where you should be going, because this is generally, there's a lot more to do with this. I would definitely recommend always putting the triple channel to work, which means you got to have 3 same sticks of DIMMs and put them in, triple channel. And then, the overclocking is going to be a biznatch. The socket size, or like the actual mounting, is a lot bigger. It's like it's the X series platform. So you can't just plug any cooler in there. The cooler comes with, though. Holy. They still made this. I know people have made this point before. It looks like a stock standard, well, this is running heatsink. This is what it comes with. It has a copper block in it. It won't fit. It'd be cool if I could test this on some newer Intel platforms, but it's a little bit different size of things, but big fat aluminum. It's definitely a much better cooler than that terribly, whatever. So 611. That's not even Core i7 3770 performance. That's at stock, 3770, not 3770K. I had one of those in the Xbox, and it would frequently get around 650. So overclocking the crap out of this doesn't even amount to a stock performance on, just a year or, a generation or two later, because we know that Sandy Bridge and Ivor Bridge are pretty much the same. So, yeah, 611, that's not so great. And, if you just want to check the temperatures here, we see getting up to 65. The temps aren't really the problem here. It's just the architecture and the voltage and stuff. You limit the voltage on this to, like, 1.3 apparently. I actually needed some help to overclock this. I needed to do some research because I wasn't having very much luck. So we'll bring up that Firestrike score 16,728, and then we'll bring up, there we go. This is the Firestrike score with the same graphics card on the 7740X. It's miles beyond. And if we want to switch back to that, the graphics score is a little bit less. It's 28,865. Because there's a bottleneck and stuff going on there compared to the 30,000, we'll say, on a more stock overclocked 1080. This is like my best all-time score. So quite a difference. 16 to 23,000. That's quite the difference. So we'll do the same with Time Spy. This is my Time Spy score for this card on the 7740X, and it's a 9352. And if we look at the Time Spy score with the i7-950, 7600. It's pretty, but not a very big difference in the only 200 points in the graphics score, so that's good. But yeah, definitely jots are down a little bit. So I actually had to seek out Papa Linus's help. Papa Linus, to get this thing overclocked, and I checked out this really old, there he is, freaking NCIX Tech Tips video here, where he's explaining there's a lot more to it. Oh, look at that case, it's on fire. Yeah, so you got to get into some serious stuff in the BIOS and tweak some stuff. There's Uncore to work with. There's voltages on different things. You have to, unlink your memory and BCLK overclock as well as multiplier unlock. So it's not easy. That's for sure. And I'll put what my overclocking settings for 4 gigahertz are up from the BIOS right here in case you're wondering. So moving on down to the east side here, I have some other things. We see here, this is the 950. It's a 45 nanometer part, and keep in mind Intel's on 14, so things have dramatically shrunk. It makes sense. The stock base is 3.06, and it boosts up to 3.33. I was able to get it to 4 gigahertz. TDP on it is 130 watts. Whew. And I actually don't notice that when I overclock them both, the 7740X and this, the power consumption is actually sort of the same with the same graphics card. So the power is not all out to lunch on this. I think mostly because the architecture can't handle much more power. It's just kind of the way it works. So if we look at the 7740X, the 14 nanometer part, it's got a base of 4.3, goes to 4.5. I have it at 5 gigahertz. Has a lot more cache and different things and stuff. Obviously, go from DDR3 to DDR4 memory. The looks like the recommended consumer price, that's pretty close to the same, considering that's an Extreme Series part. So yeah, this is so you want to see gaming benchmarks. Just how bad is it when you take for now the top dog video card and you plug it in into this 950 system with actually has more RAM, has 24 instead of 16 gigs on my test system for the 7740X, but obviously we're a whole gigahertz slower, and again, not overclocking this, the numbers you're going to see would be even worse, so keep that in mind. So fire up the benchmarks, we'll have a look at that New Jack City, and when we come back, I'll let you know what I think finally on the Core i7 950. So, it's not great, is it? And that's at 1080p and, high settings. There would be no bottleneck at all at 1080p coming from the video card. This would be strictly a bottleneck of the CPU, and we're seeing 200s at 1080p on high settings, well north of 200 with the other system. This almost cuts it in half at some points. So, yeah. So what does that mean? Is this still a viable platform? Well, there is never... there's always a reason, I should say. There's never a good reason to use this over the Xeon. The X5650s, 5670s, there's some W's that you can throw in there that are 6-core parts that you can get north of. I've had those up to 4.4 gigahertz, so they overclock better. If you get the W series, the multiplier is unlocked. This does have a locked multiplier, but it's like base frequencies, you can put it, I think, from 20 to 22 or something like that. So there's a little bit of wiggle room on this, but I typically actually find the Xeons easier to overclock as well. And you're getting, Westmeyer, it's a little bit of an architecture change up to this. I think it's in the 3,000 nanometer, or sorry, 330 nanometer instead of 40. It's like, I'll show it up on the screen here, I forget. But the Xeons are much better. They plop right in here. Sometimes you have to do a BIOS update on an X58 board. But they game better. They have 2 more cores, 4 more threads. There's never a reason not to put one of those in there because you can find them on eBay for typically $50. But if you found this system and you're just it's really heating up. I don't know why. The fans are ramping up. It's just not doing anything. It shouldn't be doing it. Anyways, 4 gigahertz. If you're completely on a budget and you find one of these systems and it has an overclockable motherboard and you can't afford the Xeon right away, I'd say, a good old 7740X, GTX 1050, 960, maybe even a 1060 or an RX 470, 480, 580 would, all right, with this motherboard. It would complement it. But when you're looking for power efficiency, you're looking for heat dissipation, stuff like that, there are more modern platforms that do so much better than this and will probably be cheaper because X58 boards command a price for the use of that Xeon I was just talking about. When you can get a Core i5, like in my $350 PC build, 2400, that beats this thing at stock speeds, nothing to worry about, gets about 440 in Cinebench. This can only do 600 if it's like really overclocked, and that Core i5 is just a plug-and-play solution that'll use a lot less power and just be a lot easier. So the first gen i7's getting up there to kind of be dead, and its only saving grace is those Xeons that do so much better in multitasking performance and gaming performance, that it's kind of a no-brainer if you get this motherboard to buy one of those Xeons and you'd be much happier. But I was kind of surprised and a little saddened at how bad this did and how hard it was to overclock, and I wouldn't recommend it to my worst enemy unless you want to fiddle around a lot. So I'm at Watch Timmy Joe Instagram and Twitter. That's right. We did some stuff today. I like looking back on this stuff. If you have any ideas on what else I can do with this kind of stuff, got some X58 motherboards kicking around. Maybe I should get one of those W series and really see how far I can push it with like a really good cooler like this. Do some of that later. But for now, I'm going to say the i7 first generation's pretty much dead. In fact, I've helped a couple of friends upgrade to that Xeon that had no idea. They were looking to maybe update to a brand new platform. I'm like, put that Xeon in there. They're like thanking the crap out of me. Even with a Noctua air cooler, we're able to get, really decent performance. Keeping in mind, this got 600 in Cinebench, overclocked, and one of those Xeons can almost push 1,000 in Cinebench with the extra cores and threads and a little bit of frequency. So it's a no-brainer. So sorry, Core i7, you'll be missed. So I'm at Watch Timmy Joe Instagram and Twitter. If you want to support me on Patreon or have any old hardware like this, I'll leave some information below. But me at timmyjoe.com if you have some old hardware like this you'd like to throw my way to have checked out or featured on the channel. I want to thank the gentleman who sent me this motherboard. You know who you are. And it's always been a pleasure receiving some hardware from this guy. He's a very, very nice gentleman. And you know what? We're going to have to say bye, Core i7. You'll be sorely missed.